Hello everyone, Dan Sanchez here. In this video I'd like to share with you some basic examples of using the where clause in your SQL select statements. In this video we'll be using the Northwind database, and we'll take a look at a series of tasks here. We just have 5 to go through on this, and we'll start by selecting the product ID, product name, and units in stock of all products that have fewer than 5 units in stock. So let's go ahead and start writing this out. We'll select product ID, product name, and units in stock. This is coming from the products table in the Northwind database. Now, if we just run this query as is, it's going to show us all of the products, and the units in stock are listed here in this column. We see some with more than 5 in this list. So if we reduce this list down with the where clause, that should get us what we're looking for. So where units in stock, and you notice as I'm typing out units in stock, Azure's giving me this suggestion. It's predicting what I'm about to type in, and we'll apply that in the next example. I'll show you a little bit about that predictive function in Azure. So let's run this query again, and we can see now that these units in stock are less than 5. And this is ordered by product ID already, you can see, but just to make sure that's in the query itself, we'll say order by product ID. It looks the same. All right, number 2, select the product ID, product name, and units in stock of all products that have a unit price greater than $8. So we will select here the columns, but first, before actually writing those columns out, let's say that we're pulling this from the products table. And I want to show you what Azure does as you put in the table name first. So we're selecting product ID. Now as I'm typing this out, you can see it's anticipating what I'm about to write. So that's really helpful. It helps you fast track your code. Product name comes up in this list, and units in stock. It's very handy. But once again, from the products table, and we are looking for products with a unit price greater than 8. So we're using the where clause again here. The unit price is greater than 8, and we'll order this by product ID. So let's take a look at this here. There we go. Now this list is filtered to only include products that have a unit price greater than 8, but you'll notice that in our column selection, unit price is not listed. So sometimes when you're limiting a query with the where clause, it is helpful to show that column. Let's go ahead and add in unit price, and that actually will confirm that our query is showing the correct information. And you can see now that unit price is listed as a column, all of those unit prices are greater than $8. Number 3, select the product name, category ID, and unit price of all products that are in category 2 and cost less than $4. So let's actually copy and paste some of this code here. We want product name. We'll just take out product ID. We want category ID. We'll just find that here. And we want unit price. Just keep that in there. Again, from the products table. The category is what we're focusing on with the where clause. So category ID. In this case, it's actually equal to being 2. All of these products are in category 2. So the category ID is going to be equal to 2. But here we're going to apply an additional component. So we want the category ID to be equal to 2, and we want the unit price to be less than 4. And we want to, let's order by, now product ID is not in our columns, but let's order by product name instead. We'll see how that goes. Oh, you know, I'm not seeing any results in this. Let's take a look and see if we find any products with a unit price greater than 4. You can see. So this category ID must not have any products that have a unit price less than 4. So that's something to be aware of. Sometimes your queries will return no information. And you know, since there wasn't an error showing here, that indicates that technically there might have not been anything wrong with the query, but there was just no information to provide. Everything was actually more than 4. But we'll keep it as less than 4 just because that is in the task instructions here. Number 4 is to select the product name, category ID, and unit price of all products that are in category 7 and cost more than $8. This is a similar task to the previous one. Let's go ahead and copy and paste. This is something that you can do in SQL in Azure. You can just rehash, copy and paste code. There's nothing wrong with that, especially when it's so similar. Product name, category ID, unit price from products where the category ID is 7 in this case, and the cost is more than 8, and that cost is the unit price. Sometimes, you know, as you're a business analyst, you have to realize that when people say one thing, they mean another thing. So in this case, cost is equal to the variable in unit price. So let's go ahead and let's take out this order by clause. It doesn't really say that we need to have that in there. And maybe we can find an appropriate ordering structure if we look at this. So we do have product name, category ID, and unit price of all these. And well, there are only 5 in the list. It might be helpful to actually order this by unit price, perhaps. Let's go ahead and order this by unit price and see if that maybe makes a little more sense. There we go. I think that does make sense. I could also see us ordering this by product name if we were so inclined. But our last task here is to combine all of the records from questions 3 and 4 into a single select statement. So reviewing those questions again, we want to find product name, category ID, and unit price that meet all of these conditions, or maybe are in category 2 or 7 that cost less than 4 or cost more than 8. So we're going to have both sides of the spectrum here. So let's go ahead and copy and paste this code. I think we can just reuse this, especially the top half, because these are the same columns we're pulling from. So the where clause is going to require a little bit of manipulation here. So let's actually put some parentheses around here. We want the category ID to be equal to 2 and the unit price, category ID being 2, the unit price was less than 4. Or category ID is equal to 7 and the unit price is greater than 8. Okay, so let's review this real quick. The where clause is saying we want to find all of the records that have a category ID equal to 2 and a unit price less than 4, or a category ID, it's actually category ID 7 here, right? 7, yep, category 7, and a unit price greater than 8. Now, if we take a look at this, we are ordering by unit price. There we go. And if you recall from task 3, we found that there weren't any records listed in this query, right? Category ID equal to 2 and unit price less than 4. So this query here is really just showing us the same 5 records that were identified in this query on its own, just the category ID 7. So let's change this and see if we can find the category 2 records just by flipping that sign. See, now we have records from category ID 2 and 7 listed. So this would provide more records for sure. If you're looking, if you're reviewing a list like this, you sometimes don't need to write out the entire code if you can find that a simpler version of that query would provide you what you're looking for. But basically, this video is designed to show you the use of the where clause and some conditions